Evening everybody. Tonight we got a 2159 that I believe has been liquid damaged. It was left running, just seemed to be working okay initially, and then it looks like it turned off about 2 weeks ago. And Apple Store tried a new I/O board, a couple other things, and no luck. So it's been handed off to me. Hopefully we can have a win with this one. I certainly hope so anyway. Anyway, let's get into it and see what we can find. Alright, we don't see too many of the 2159s around. I do believe this is the one that suffers the GAY chip voltage regulator issue. In fact, I think I will test and see what it's doing. Since we don't have the typical issues like we do with the 1990, 2141, with these machines, we can afford to plug them in and see what they're doing. Or at least it's not such a high risk that it shouldn't be done. Okay, but I suspect this is the GAY chipset. Mind you, we're getting nothing but 18 milliamps there. That's a little different. Yeah. 18 milliamp dead set. Okay, it's definitely not the GAY chipset. This is something more like a hard short in our PP bus, I think. Battery disconnected. Let's get the probes out, have a quick check, see what we find. Whew, that is a hard short. Okay, there's no doubts about that one. I would say we take the board out and we go looking for an explosion. Can't see any explosion marks on here. Nope. Under the microscope. Now these are the GAY chips I'm talking about. May not be the issue on this one though. Right, looks like I'm a failure tonight, so we're going to have to inject. We're getting about 300 milliwatts when we apply the power. We're doing 0.8 volts, so it's not a lot. But hopefully we can pick something up. So 275 milliwatts. Yep, straight away, there we go. Bam! That was fast. I like that. Power off, and away it goes. Okie dokie. Big fella. It's a change. Oh yeah, there you go, you can see it there. Can't see from there. Just see that crack there north of the pink dot. Not much of a telltale sign there. Well, it's pretty unusual for us to get one of these having failed, so what we're going to do, I'm not going to really hot air this one out. We're going to maybe give a bit of a hot air assist, but not much more. Primarily, we're just going to heat up the either end, and then rely on the fact that these capacitors, they have gull wings, which means that you can pivot them up and they won't tear away from the board, but it means you can get one side up and then the other. So we'll start out by just putting some leaded solder on there. That went nicely. This one's going to be a little bit harder. It's all good. Yeah, I should be able to just get my little tool under there. Like that. And this should pretty much slide it off. Once it gets up to temperature, ground planes are so much harder. We'll grab the tweezers, they'll make it easier for us. That is incredibly difficult to get off. Well, that's a difficult one for sure. We'll try out a bit more leaded solder, give it a bit more thermal oomph. that doesn't work, we'll have to get our hot air down in on it. Okay, there we go. Just checking our resistance. Okay, that's better up there. Let's check it here. Much better. I've still obviously got to put a replacement down here. So what we'll do is initially set up that leaded, get that ready for it. As of that pad's easy to do. Okay, we've got too much solder on there now. We'll just take off a little bit. And just put just enough for what we want for the job. Okay, that's good. Clean up the old flux. Alright, it's a good start. Now, one of the tricks here is actually getting a replacement cap that doesn't get destroyed. Because these caps, they do not like getting any sort of heat on them, or at least they don't want much at all. So these are 680 microfarad caps. 680, 16 volt, 20%. Turns out I've got a donor here. These ones I find are somewhat more robust. So here we go. I'm mostly aiming at the board area around here, not actually at the cap. You see the leaded solder is already ready to go, but oops. There we go. I can tell by the smell that I didn't pop it. With these caps, they are polarized, so you've got to get them in the right orientation. Now there's a band here. That band's positive on tantalum caps as opposed to negative on electrolytes, just to make your life confusing. Coming with the same heat. And it's just, it really wants to dance around already. And that's down. No damage to the connector, didn't even damage the fibers there. If you put one of these caps on backwards, you will know very quickly when you powered it up. They're very intolerant of reverse polarity. And they will let you know. That looks good to me. I think we can put this back in and hopefully it should power up. We better check that resistance on the line again. That's a nice healthy over a couple of K there, so that's good. I'm just going to do a preliminary check and put the power on. Make sure it boots up, otherwise, there's no point putting all the screws back in. Well, that's better, 20 volts. Let's see if it actually gets anywhere though. Ooh, restart. The Napa logo! Just what we want. Much better than before. That battery is basically fully charged, so we're not going to get any sort of step current or anything like that. Okay, this can all go back together. Job is done. Right, that was thankfully a proper workshop job, as it were, the sort of workshop job that I'd like to see come in more often. So we had a machine that, interestingly, was marked as a potential liquid damage, but it ends up that wasn't actually the fault. In fact, I didn't see any real liquid damage on the board, so this is one of those scenarios where things happen in reverse, where the person's saying, I think it's liquid damage, and you don't find any, as opposed to people who say, I didn't spill anything near it, and you open it up and it's a cesspit. So that was another capacitor failure, but this time it was one of the tantalum capacitors rather than the ceramics. Seem to be getting less of the tantalum failures these days, more of the ceramics, and subsequently that made me run around looking for a ceramic failure on that board, and obviously I couldn't see it, which made me overlook that little bit of a crack on the side of the tantalum capacitor, which otherwise would have normally been a fairly obvious sign, as it were. Anyway, we were lucky, we relented, went for the injection method, and this time we only needed about 0.8 volts, and that gave us enough heat on the board, because the board was cold, to be able to quickly hone in on exactly where the fault is. Couple of verification checks with the PB bus, and everything was good after the replacement. And of course, machine booted up just fine. Thank you very much for watching. Appreciate the support. Until the next time, you all take care. I'll catch you later.